so when I have the opportunity to be on time, we are going to take it. So thank you. I don't know, I'm a little freaked out that it's a full house. So thank you for coming. It's lunchtime. You all should be eating, and I'm thankful that you're here. My name is Marisa Burkhart. I'm the Director of Educational Technology in District 158. I know absolutely nothing about literacy. And so that is why I'm still kind of blown away by you're here. No, really, my training was a science teacher, and my role in the district had changed. We were rolling out one-to-one, specifically with literacy curriculum in grades 3, 4, and 5. So that is so far from my comfort zone and my zone of expertise. I just feel like I learned a lot. So I'm not going to stand up here and pretend to know all the correct terminology about literacy. But I just wanted to kind of share what we do in the specific part of independent practice during guided reading, because I feel like that's sometimes a challenging part for teachers because of some of the management issues and things that happen during independent time. And so we're just going to share some of the ideas that we use during independent practice time, and show you some practical examples of things. I don't think your mind will be blown by any new tool. I really like to talk about the tools in context for use. I also like to present because I like to learn things from people, especially about literacy, like I said, because I'm not an expert. So if you have anything to add or any ideas, like I like it to be interactive and be talkative, because I usually learn more presenting and kind of getting feedback from people. So I'm going to let Stacey introduce herself also.
I'm Stacey Johnson, and I was a 5th grade teacher in Huntley, and this is my first year in a new role with the technology integration specialist. So I'm just helping integrate the technology. I had 1 year under my belt of teaching one-to-one with our tablets, and then went into this role of learning as I go, and just coming alongside and supporting the teachers. Teachers don't always get the support they need in the classroom, and so it's nice to be able to come alongside them with the curriculum and the technology component.
How many of you guys are active elementary school teachers? I have to do like Wayne's World, We're Not Worthy, because like I said, I did not know how hard you guys work and what life is like as an elementary school teacher before I started supporting it, and my mind is blown. So really, truly, thank you for the hard work that you do, because I'm amazed. I couldn't do it myself. I'm going to give you a really quick overview of our district. District 158, we're a K-12 district. We've got 8 schools, about 9,000 kids, so we have really big schools. We started one-to-one 2 years ago, 3rd through 5th grade, 1,000 kids. Now we have more schools, more kids. But that's what we're going to really talk about today, is kind of our elementary literacy and just kind of cool activities that kids do during independent practice that are a little bit different. We use Kuno Android tablets, all the stuff you could do on anything, whether you use iPads or laptops, or whether you have one-to-one or not, if you have some in your classroom. That environment really doesn't matter. I'm not going to click on this link and watch the video, but if you have the presentation, you want to watch it later, there is a video just about our district and what our one-to-one program is like. So I went ahead and linked that in there for you. So I did a little bit of research in our own district about what teaching literacy is like before I started really kind of working with the new digital curriculum and supporting and things. And so I learned a lot about centers and organization, and there's baskets of things and papers and glue sticks, and I have to tell you, I cleaned up my desktop so you wouldn't see how many icons I actually have on my desktop. Organization is not a strength of mine, so I've, number one, completely just blown away by the organization that it takes to run centers and kind of have these pre-packaged things for kids to do. So there are centers, and then we moved through this thing where we were actually still doing centers, but we called them stations. This is what teachers told me, right? So does anyone know why that did? There was a book or somebody important.
Debbie Diller.
Yeah, okay. I knew there was a name. Right. So then it still is the same, right? We have baskets of stuff, and God love you for knowing how to organize that. Then we went through stations. And then we moved to Daily 5. And Daily 5 is just yet another way to organize things during this independent time. So we kind of loosely use the ideas of Daily 5, and I'm certainly not making a statement about any of the literacy concepts here about good, bad, or whatever. I just think it's kind of interesting to see how it went over time, because my impression, and I'm not saying this to be judgmental at all, is that when you have 25 kids and you need them to do stuff while you're teaching, the criteria of stuff that they can do and not bother me and not kill each other like rises to the top of the list. And that's not a normal criteria that we use to evaluate instructional strategies. But in that reality of having to manage small group and the rest of the kids, it very much was. So that was my entry point for me, my comfort zone of, okay, if we didn't have to use that as our number one criteria, then what are the things that we do still make sense and what don't make sense? And so that's kind of the context for our presentation today. So here's just a couple images of our kids using tablets, and they use them a lot for the independent practice time. Do you guys know Kahoot? Okay, so this really isn't an independent practice thing, but it's such a cool tool, and it has gone like wildfire. People are fanatical about it. And the thing I like about it is that I know that there are certain ways that you sort kids into groups, and you have them work with the group for a certain amount of time, but sometimes it's fun to change it up. So sometimes you can use a tool like this, either to get your kids split into groups. Whoever does the worst on this quiz is going to toll with me first, or whoever does the best gets moved to their independent project. It's also something that you could use with kids in your small group where you just are working with 5 of them. So we're going to play. It's a short game, but we're going to play. Is that okay? There's more than 30 of you in here, so whoever gets on first gets it. So for teachers, you're going to go to getkahoot.com. This is like the information behind using it. Students would go to kahoot.it. I'm going to click on this.
So you're going to
I'm going to go ahead and
in.
right. I'm going to go ahead and launch it so you'll see. But that's what that meant. There's a teacher and student. So we're going to play just this really quick phonics game. There's not that many questions, and it will load up here. Just a minute, it will pop up. Okay. So you're going to go to kahoot.it, and when a game pin pops up there, you're going to type in that number. 8801, and you're going to put in your name, 8801.
One thing I do with this game too, it's nice, is I go ahead and write it on the board, because you can enter the game at any time. So if your Wi-Fi's slow, or this one is having a hard time, or he's off task and he's not on the Kahoot.it, they can enter at any time. So once you start, the number goes away, and I just always have a student write it on the board. So again, they can enter even if it's question 3, they can, go in.
Okay, so we're cranking up on players. I'll let it go a little bit more. You can scroll down and the names go on the screen. Here you are. Super easy to do. You literally just make an account. You can search public ones. So especially if you use Reading Street, look, because we've made a lot of them that correlate to Reading Street. But go ahead. It really freaks people out, the kids especially, because I go in and out of classrooms all the time, and I'll just get on my phone and start playing. I see them all like looking, and I'm like, I'm right behind you.
And there's a cute music that plays with it, just the waiting,
all right,
waiting
so
whistle.
I don't know if we have. I don't know. It's 37 players. 37 is a good number, so we're gonna go ahead and start. I didn't turn the music on because I didn't hook the speakers up. So, my goodness, my.
Oh, you can enter.
Yeah. So the question comes up at the top. The thing I like is that you can't only look at your device. You have to look at both, because the answers are here and you're answering on your device. So it really gets kids cued in on what you're doing. And I didn't create this, so if there's something wrong, literacy experts out there, totally not my fault.
You can also, for lower grades, upload images. So if they can't read kindergarten first and you have a picture, you can do that as well.
Okay, so congratulations to 18 of you. So we're going to go ahead to the next question. Mandy. Who's Mandy? Nice job.
It tells you who you're right next to in the room, kind of some positive feedback.
Wish I could have a recording of everything going. The music to kind of make it a little bit tenser. Okay. So you get the idea, right? So it's fun. It's super easy for kids to do. As Stacey said, even with younger kids, you can put pictures up there. Kids don't need accounts, all that kind of stuff. You know, what worst thing that's ever happened is a kid put their name as Google. It happens.
Yeah, make some perimeters of first names only.
Always a joy. I don't know what it is about kids. That's their go-to naughty word. But it's really fun, and like I said, there's a social part of it where you can create things and share out and use other people's Kahoots that they've made. You can look at the results, but you know, if you wanted to do a lesson on phonics, okay, let's do this and see, review from yesterday, see who really got it and who didn't. If I have 6 kids who really didn't get it, then let's pull them together first and get rocking. So.
Well, and it's a quick way to look at, you know, all right, 30 got it right, but I still have 9 who don't get it, you know, and just that quick reteaching, even before you click next to the next one. One thing we did for our district to connect even the different buildings is we made a shared Google spreadsheet for each grade level, and then I made columns specific for Reading Street. So because obviously we're probably not going to find a lot of Reading Street on Kahoot, and so we started putting the URL to share, and then what specific topic, if it was our selection vocab, and then we have grammar, prefix, you know, suffix, and science, and social studies. So with our curriculum, if we're creating it, it's a way now that we have all of our resources in one spreadsheet that all the 5th grade has together and all 4th grade has together.
And if you want that, let me know and we'll share it with you. But it's just an easy way for us to make sure that we're all not creating the same thing at the same time. So again, as a teacher, you go to getkahoot.com to make your account. Kids only need to go to Kahoot.it, and they just go and enter in the code. They don't ever need an account or anything to participate. So these are kind of my observations of how independent practice looks different for us. So there's an engagement factor there with the technology. So that's what I was talking about before, the criteria of what are kids going to be engaged in that they can do without killing each other. That kind of goes away, although they certainly can be off task, but they're really excited about what they're doing. And so that kind of initial management, crowd control, space control kind of goes away, and you really have some true engagement. We see more options for more open-ended work that students can work on, you know, for more time than just the little time that you have for your group time, and that they can revisit the work more just because of the digital organization of it. Digital organization of the work creates an efficiency for teachers, so it's not collecting slips or collecting checklists of who did what. They've really gotten a lot of workflow using Google Docs, using Haiku, which we'll talk about in a little bit, that makes it a little bit easier for teachers to manage things. Students become very skilled at self-managing technology. So this is one of the rules that we have. The teacher's teaching a small group, like, it better be the school's on fire before you bug the teacher about something. So it is not, my camera doesn't work, I can't get on the internet. That doesn't happen. You have troubleshooting skills yourself. You try everything that you know. I have a slide later on that talks about our SWAT team, but we have kids good at technology, that they are assigned to be technology helpers, just like you're assigned to take your lunch money down to the office, and you go talk to those kids before you you go talk to the teacher. And most of the time, if those kids can't figure it out, the kids have to go to the help desk to get it figured out. Teachers aren't going to be able to figure out, the kids can't. So we really want teachers to be able to spend their time focusing on their kids. Like, that's your time with them. So that's a really important part of how we manage that. We also know transitions are much more fluid. There really aren't any anymore. And it kind of leads to the next point. It's not, I'm going to sit and do this for 20 minutes. I'm going to do this for 20 minutes. It's really just more fluid. You do things until they're done, and you choose what you do. And you don't have to go to a specific table to do it. And so it's just made the transition time a lot different, a lot more quiet, and just a lot more easygoing than everybody kind of shuffling around in a specified period of time. So those are the kind of things that we notice about using these tools for independent practice. So what do we use? And this is really just to give you an idea. These are the types of things you need, but you certainly don't need to use what we use. We use tablets, of course. All of our kids have them, but if you had 5 or 10 or 1 of anything, you can do any of this stuff. We use an LMS. We use Haiku. You can use anything. You just need a place to put all the stuff. Kids need to be directed to the places that you need them to go. So we use Haiku and we love it, especially for younger kids. Sometimes, you think of even like the worst ones, like Moodle and that kind of stuff. All that stuff was developed for higher ed. And then we kind of like put different stickers on it and said, well, now it's for K-12. And okay, maybe it's for 9-12. But Haiku is one that really was developed for K-12. And we use it, with the kids, use it as young as 1st and 2nd grade. And it's easy for teachers to create stuff, easy for kids. We purchased a district license, but Haiku is actually available for free. You can get your own free class with, I think 30 kids. So if it's something that you're interested in trying, we'll talk about it a little bit later also. We think Haiku is a good one. Collaborative tools, you obviously need a way for kids to work together and work with you. We use Google Apps, but it certainly doesn't have to be that. You obviously need to connect this to your literacy curriculum. We use Pearson's Reading Street. There's a lot of digital tools in that, but it doesn't have to be that, of course. And then we have a host of productivity apps on our kids' tablet. I linked a list there. I'm not going to go through and share specific apps, but we're real focused on tools that do stuff and not tools that just practice things. And we design the practice activities based on the students' needs. We don't use apps for that. So that's kind of our host of tools. I wrote a haiku about how much we love Haiku. Haiku LMS, center of our universe, can't live without it. So there you go, there's 575. That's about as English language arts as it gets for me. So what does Haiku do for us? Besides the basic sharing content and links, we use discussion boards. We use them a lot. Like I said, even down to 2nd grade, I have some screenshots of some coming up, posing big questions, getting kids talking about things, and not that kids have to discuss online when they're in independent time, because like if we're right here, we can also talk. That works. But sometimes the question is started in school, and then kids will revisit it later. They'll revisit it at home. They'll read a conversation, and then at some point feel empowered to participate. Kids who struggle with writing see other kids post, and it's really strong modeling for them to be able to do it. So we're certainly not opposed to actual talking, but the process of the discussion board is more than just kind of social at that point. Wiki projects is something we also use as a function of Haiku. Kids can use a shared space to share their work, submit things. We use submitting things through Dropbox as a way for teachers to be more efficient in how they monitor students' work, practice assessments, and polls. So let's take a little bit of a look at Haiku. I didn't want to go into live Haiku just because sometimes when you depend on internet connections and things, that's bad. And also, like, never fails. Anytime I pull up anybody else's Haiku page, they're like working on it, or things changed since the last time I went to look for it. So here's some screenshots. So this is the kids' portal where they log in. This is a teacher perspective, so you see all the classes a teacher would be managing, but kids would just see like their homeroom. Maybe the library has a class, and so when they click into the class, that's where they get all their content. But it's kind of nice from a management perspective. You think, gosh, do kids in 2nd grade really need a calendar? Maybe not, but their parents do, and their parents can log in and see these things. They get an activity stream of what's going on. So here's just a sample of a class page. A couple things I want to point out. Not that any of this stuff on this page is engaging, but the nice thing about haiku is you can just build out resources and resources and resources and then turn on and off what you want. So from a teacher efficiency standpoint, you really do get the benefit year over year of your work being saved. You can see the little orange things turned on and off. So, and if you're familiar with Reading Street, we have all of our units built out, and teachers can kind of publish and unpublish as they go. So this is kind of the student's world in independent practice time. This is where all their ideas are linked, and where they kind of get guidance on where to go and what to do. So again, we loosely base things around Daily 5. Not every teacher does. It's not a requirement. We don't say you have to use Daily 5, but some teachers kind of use that to anchor things in haiku. So it's more of a daily 5, but almost in a week's fashion, because it's not like you have to do this now. It's like, this is what we're going to accomplish this week, and you have some choice in how you complete this. So read to self doesn't look that different because it's reading to self. There's a couple of extra tools that we use. Obviously, we have e-text readers. We have a digital ebook collection through Follett. We use things like Storia and RazKids. Those are nothing new or different, but we do also use real books. People think that when you get tablets, you don't have books anymore, and that is obviously not true. So this gives kids more options for things to read to self, but the process is really not that different. I do have a couple ideas for independent reading and how to track that and monitor that as a teacher. As a child, I hated a reading log, so I don't know, it's like I have a personal thing against it, I don't know. So I make no judgments about reading logs and what you need to do, but these are kind of 3 good ideas that I've seen as a way to monitor kids' independent reading. Biblionasium, do you know it? Okay, so it's like a social network for kids that's all about books. I'm not going to open it up because on the site there's a little girl that walks out and starts talking to you about Biblionasium, and it's see? So it's built for kids, so it's a safe place for kids to talk and share about books. And sometimes I think in read to self, like we sit and read because it's important for fluency and all those things, but it's also important to process what you read and make sure you comprehend it and talk about it with people and like it. Enjoy what you're reading. So I've seen kids that literally, okay, it's time to read. Go, okay, I'll read this. Okay, I'm going to sit down and pretend I'm reading. You know, there needs to be more conversation about that. So Biblionasium, I like a lot. Reading rewards, who knows this? I'm going to go ahead and open it up. Reading rewards, you can actually set goals for kids. They can earn stuff. You can use this as a classroom, as a school. It's a really neat program. So it's more like a digitized version of a reading log. Even as a parent, you can just use it and set up goals for your kids that they can go and log. So it's totally free. It's really nice, really nicely done. So you also can create circles. So if you want a place for kids to talk about a specific book, you can set those up as a teacher in there and kind of run a little book discussion. So there's certainly lots of different tools that you can use for that, but reading rewards, like I said, it's nice, built for kids, free. The last, let me go back to full screen here. What's that?
Was the
Biblionasium also free, yeah. Yeah.
The students, do they need accounts to log into these?
For both of them, they do need accounts. Mm-hmm.
Do your students have email accounts?
They don't need email. You're right. Our students actually do have email accounts. We tend to not like to use them as their account information for things depending on it. But especially for those, an email account is not required. And the specific intention of those sites is for kids under 13. So I know sometimes that is an issue because there's all this amazing stuff and we still have to really, be mindful of kids' privacy, especially when we're talking about elementary school kids. But both of those are made for elementary school kids. The 25 Books project is something that I find fascinating, and if I was teaching, I would do. Role Reversal by Mark Barnes is an ASCD book. I don't know if you've read it. It's not necessarily intended for elementary school kids, but it's the right mindset. I believe he's a middle school teacher. I linked to the book on ASCD if you want to look it up. Good, quick read, very practical. 25 Books project is instead of saying we're going to read minutes, we're going to read books because books are what matter. And so his goal was 25 for his students, but whatever makes sense as a teacher for you. A lot of times kids read 25 books in a week, when you're talking about a little book. So there's a way to adapt this, but the idea is you read a book and then you process it, and then you read a book and then you process it. His opinion, or his idea rather, on how to process that is to have kids curate websites that relate to the book and talk about how they relate. So it's a really, I think, good reflective tool and a way to help kids learn about internet research, to find websites that connect what they thought about this book with more information, whether it's actual nonfiction information that they found from a website or people's opinions about things there. So he talked about a project specifically using Digo, where kids would create a folder of their books. Every time they finished a book, they would build a collection of websites that relate to that book. That particular project, I don't think is 100% applicable. I think you can adjust it though for kids kind of processing information, because I think when you look at a reading log at the end of the year and you see, I read, 87 million minutes, and you see that stack of paper, it's different than you can go, look at all these books I've read and all this information that I thought about. It just has a different feeling. So so I like that one, and I hope you can figure out a way to kind of rethink that and remix it for your classroom. And I do really recommend that book. It's a good one. Working on writing. So there's lots of ways to work on writing. I'm going to show you just one tool that's my favorite, StoryMaker. Do you know StoryMaker? All right, we're going to open it. StoryMaker is web-based. It has cute music. It's cute until 10 kids forget to plug in their headphones and not very cute. All right. It's from the Carnegie Library. I linked it on there. So hopefully with those two pieces of information you can find it. So the thing I like about, I'm going to shrink this down a little bit. The ratio on my screen here is a little bit, so I'm going to scroll it over. The thing is, you can start picking characters and throwing them into your story, and it builds kind of the base story for you. And I'm going to be the lion. All right, somebody shout it out. What's our main character's goal?
Travel.
Travel, heard it first. Okay. Travel to? What are our choices?
Beach.
Yeah, beach, somewhere warm. Okay. So I apologize because I know it's a little weird on the screen here, but we're going to start it and get it centered. So there's a little guy that tells you what to do, which is nice. You start dropping characters in. And when you do that, you pick actions or emotions or an interaction between the two. All right, so we're going to have fight. Dun, dun, dun. Okay, so that's fun for kids, but what happens is it starts populating the story for you, which may actually be the opposite of writing because it's doing it for you. But my point is that you can focus on a specific writing skill. Like if we're focusing on using figurative language, okay, let's add some to this. So they're not building out all of it, they can just add those things. Or we're working on adjectives, or we're working on alliteration, or whatever it is. So I like that it starts building that for you. You can add scenery, etc., and kind of keep on going. So I don't want to spend all the time doing this, but you can imagine kids.
So the kids can type in additional text
Yeah.
to where it's
Yeah, let me show
populating the story?
So it just starts piping. If they don't like this, they're like, you know what, the genie's name is actually, I don't know, what's the genie's name?
Fred.
So they can add things to it and change it. So I kind of like it for that purpose. And so you can make as many pages as you want. When you're done, you say that you're done. There's a done button, and it gives you a code. And when you go back to this, you can put that code right here and read the story. So you can share that with parents. It's there, I think they tell you a certain amount of time, a year or something. So it's a really just easy way to use the web to publish. One downside, I don't think you can save it and go back. It's a one-shot deal? We're going to sit
No,
and do stories?
actually, so I was in a class and a fifth grade teacher was struggling with how they want to share their stories with each other. So again, shared Google Doc and made some columns. We typed in their names, the kids' names, and then, 4 more columns, enough for them to copy and paste their code, and then they could go in and paste their code into it, and then they can go in, open it up, and then find codes of other people in the class. And then all they have to do is drop in the code, and they can open up someone's, story that they already created. Whether how long it lasts, that I'm not. I mean, it's been working.
Yeah, it says
working okay.
It maybe lasts forever. I don't know.
Yeah.
Nothing lasts forever. So anyways, I like it. Like I said, you have to kind of sit down and do it once. You can't save your work for later. So you don't always have to make like a long epic story, but 3 slides, adding whatever the skill is that you're working on, sharing it with kids. It's a really cool, I think, visual way for kids to write. Obviously we use Google a lot. They share with each other. They do shared writing. I like it because in your transition, you can, log right in and see, okay, who's worked. I'm going to make a quick comment. Quick comment back to a kid. Geez, I really like, that sentence that you wrote. Keep it up. I like how you're on task. Bam, they're yours for the next, 15, 20 minutes. So the ability to really kind of key in and have those key communications with kids quickly and efficiently, I think helps in the process. So discussion posts, we talked about. I'm going to show you a couple samples. Also works for reading writing journals if you have kids do that. There's nothing wrong with them writing them on paper or word processing them or both. But we use discussion posts also as an individual journaling back and forth. You can make them individual, so it's just a conversation between you and the student. Lots of times teachers like to have that just as a way to monitor, did the kid really read something, right? I did individual journaling in a grad school class, and that was the first time that I ever read anything that the professor asked me to read. Because I had to have a personal conversation with him about it, and it was just him, and I couldn't I don't know, I'll re-summarize what this other person said in the discussion post. I don't know how it is. Don't judge me like you're sitting there like, oh yeah, I read everything in grad school, yeah, right. So that was actually a moment for me where I thought, this individual journaling back and forth, like, it's you and the professor talking, you can't BS your way through that, so it's a good thing. I also talked, I think, a little bit about the idea for modeling. When you have those kids that struggle, just being able to see other kids' posts first and see that is good for them. We also use Today's Meet a lot. You guys know Today's Meet. That's it, really quick and easy. We use it a lot for just practice sample. And sometimes if I have a group, like I have groups, but if you have a group that's struggling with something, you may say, let's all, before you come to group, I want you all to write a sentence on Today's Meet that uses, one of our vocab words, or alliteration, or skill, whatever. And the teacher will have their guided reading table right in front of the screen, so when they get there, they're not, okay, here's our 6 sentences that we wrote, let's talk about them and how that works. So they use it a lot to collect information and then use it to focus small group there because it's there, right there. If you use that with your high kids, then you have samples. So then when your low kids come and sit down, okay, let's take a look at these sentences and talk about them. And then now it's your turn to go and do that. So Today's Meet's just super quick and easy. If you don't know it, it's just todaysmeet.com. 30 seconds later, you're in an instant chat room with your kids. So that's handy. I'm going to go to full screen because I have some images here. So this is a screenshot of haiku. A lot of what we like to do is get kids talking about pictures. So, graphic sources, we have some pictures and we have kids think about a title and a caption for the pictures below, and they start discussing what their ideas are for titles and captions. This particular one, using some of the figurative language skills, alliteration, personification, etc. So that's a way that we use discussion boards to get kids talking and being creative. Here's some sample discussion posts, kids thinking and talking about their writing, who's my favorite character and why, what should we do, in a particular situation. So these are 3rd grade samples. This doesn't happen the day one of third grade when it's like, oh, let's do a discussion board. They need a lot of training and support on how to do it because all they want to do is get on there and say hi to each other. Hi. So setting up those scaffolds for them of this is how and why we're using a discussion post. A lot of times teachers will do individual discussion posts first. When you've shown me you can communicate back and forth with discussion posts with me, then I'm going to put you in a small group, and then we'll move to a whole class discussion. And so it's a really important skill for kids. We think they know how to do it, but they don't. They want to just, say, oh, I totally agree, smiley face. Here's some more examples for working on writing. They do little polls, what's your favorite story from the unit or whatever, and they'll use that kind of as a way to bounce into a discussion or a writing assignment. We do a lot of shared stories where students will start the story in Google, share it with somebody, share it with the class next door, share it with the building across town, and continue writing the stories together. Kids love that. That's one of their favorite shared writing things that they do. And I love reading their stories. So they use Google for their writing folders. Again, this is an example of a teacher just commenting back and forth. Those comments mean so much to the kids to see it, and it's actually a much more efficient way for you to give feedback on writing. I'm going to move quickly just because I know we're down to 10 minutes left. Kid blog, I hope you know that. That's what we've found to be the quickest and easiest way to get kids blogging, especially this age, kind of in a safe way. So our kids do really enjoy that and use that as an outlet for working on writing also. So here's an example of some of her work there. And I think, especially in writing, kids just like the choice. I can blog about something, or I can write in my journal, or create a story maker for it. So giving kids options and ways to write, I think, is good. And writing on paper is also an option. I'm going to go to some of our examples of word work. These are just kind of some fun things. Kids love using pictures. Pixay, Sketch, those are all things that they use to create pictures. Padlet. Can I do a quick poll about something completely unrelated? How many of you use Spelling City? How many of you have technical problems with Spelling City? Oh, good. I mean, not good, but sometimes you just have that moment. Is it just me? No. So here's some word work examples. Kids just like to do this. And this, from a technology integration standpoint, not much different than some of the activities that we used to do with cards and that kind of thing. But what's neat about it is the kids create the stuff themselves. They're the ones typing in the words. They're the ones picking the color. They're the ones making the organization. It's more personal. It's more fun to them. And what we find is that kids will go home and do this more, make more of them. I'm going to make a mind map of everybody in my family just because they enjoy doing it. So it's a good way to kind of extend things there. So using Sketch and using a mind mapper are two of the kids' favorite things to do. Here's an example of Padlet. We're familiar with Padlet? Okay, so it's a shared bulletin board space, and again, an easy one for kids because all you have to do is set up the room and then direct them to it, and they can go ahead and post things to it. We like Padlet because you can upload pictures, and on a tablet very easily get stuff in your gallery or your photos if you are on an iPad, and you're able to upload pictures. So write 2 sentences using the same homonym in each sentence, have it show a different meaning, and then have a picture to kind of cue you with that. So here's Madison. That one's kind of a little hard to see, dog driving. I'm going to drive my car. I have to drive the cows to the barn. I like to have some jam on my crackers. My car got jammed yesterday. So the picture piece is a big part for kids. They enjoy it. So since we're talking about pictures, we're going to talk about how darn hard it is to use Google Images without ruining your kid's life forever. So practical reality of doing business with kids. We use ImageQuest, which is a service from Encyclopedia Britannica. It costs money. It doesn't cost that much money. It's a safe image bank for kids to search and use images. There's also other places on the internet that you can search images to use, free lists and things that are more educational in nature. We also encourage our kids to make their own pictures. If you want a picture of a dog driving your car, and at home you have a dog and a car, then, you know, sorry parents, put the dog in the car and take a picture. Creating your own content, I think, is an important part. So kids using creativity apps to draw a picture that they're looking for, or set up and take a picture themselves, I think is empowering in a way to also kind of get them out of the possibly unsafe environment of searching for images. I'm telling you what, there is no such thing as an innocent Google image search. Don't search Sky, I'm just saying. So Padlet we like. Here is some sample little pictures that a kid made. This is using Pixay. There's a million apps that do this. You take an app, you put stickers on it. Our kids will take pictures of people and draw mustaches on them all day long. That's what we let them do. But this is kind of a way to use that. So here she is using her selection vocabulary, you know, kind of creating different scenes and using either their skills or their selection vocabulary. So they love to do this. So the kid will make these types of things, and then we'll set up a shared space in Haiku where they upload all of them together, and then the kids can see each other, talk about each other's, comment on each other's, etc. All right, so this part, it just talks about some other projects. I'm going to just go to my favorite one. QR codes are fun, and I love using them in situational examples. So here, kids, it was a connection with science. They were talking about different body parts and body systems, and so they picked one system or one part and wrote a diary journal, a day in the life of hair. So this is kind of talking about what it's like to be hair. This is my day that I had, and then they make these big posters, and you know, with yarn and colored paper, and kind of make this big tactile poster of their body system, and then put their QR codes up there. So you can see, okay, here's the lungs. I'm going to scan the lungs and see what it was like to be a lung today. We put those out in the hallway. That's, I think, a really good combination of the need for hands-on fun, you know, creating this thing, but also then visual skills and the writing piece and understanding your audience and all that kind of stuff. So that, I think, is one of my favorite projects there. There's a couple more, but I don't want to bore you with all that stuff. Here's another example with Padlet. This is the wiki pages is what I was talking about, where you can kind of share stuff and put it all in one page. So I'm going to talk about one more tool. Timelines, good also for not just, you know, making a timeline, something if you're studying a historical event, but also sequencing stories and that kind of thing. Proceeding is a little complicated, better for 4th and 5th grade. There's also a really good timeline app from International Reading Association. I think it's just called Timeline. They have like 5 apps that are rock solid, super easy to use. The Timeline app, literally 5 minutes you can create a timeline with pictures and titles. It's really pretty slick, so we like to use that in terms of demonstrating sequencing or even storyboarding, planning things out if you're going to write a story. Classroom management strategies certainly plays a role in that kind of environment. So we use Class Dojo to award kids points. Do you know that? Yeah, kids love that. And then here's a little bit more, like I said, about our SWAT team, where kids have to show proficiency with technology and then be willing to help the other kids during guided reading time. So I know I went a little fast in the end. I kind of wanted to make sure to highlight those things. I do have just a couple minutes for questions. There's our Twitter handles. I didn't put my district email address. I don't know why. It was not in work mode when I did this, but I'll throw it up there for you. If you have any questions or ideas or things that you want to share, let me know, because I like to learn too. Oops, I pushed the wrong thing. My apologies. Does anyone have any questions or things that you want to talk about? Are you all hungry and want to go eat lunch?
You know, I used Padlet with 2nd graders when they were brainstorming about space. Instead of just asking class, okay, what do you guys want to know about space? We did it on Padlet, and everybody had to just keep coming up with ideas. So I feel like it engaged the kids a lot more than just saying, what do you guys want to know? What do you already know? Like,
right.
Because they all had to participate. So
and they liked it?
They did.
Good. Any other questions? All right, well, thank you so much for coming. Have a great day. Good to see you. Hopefully I'll see you tomorrow.